right, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday, August 12th, 2021 special meeting of the Humboldt County Planning Commission. As usual, in accordance with Executive Order N-29-20, the Planning Commission meeting will be held virtually. Go to the county website to get instructions on how to join us. And with that, I'll call the meeting to order. Would you please join me in a salute to the flag? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Laura, roll call, please.
Alan Bongio.
Here.
Thomas Mulder.
Present, and I'd just like to comment that Zoom panelist link we've been emailed does not work for me.
Oh, bummer. Noah Levy. Mike Newman.
Present, and it did work for me.
Peggy O'Neill. Brian Mitchell. Melanie McGaver.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. Well, barely we have a quorum, so there's 4 of us. So thank you, Laura, for doing that. Any agenda modifications, Director?
We have no modifications to the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Public comments. This is the time when the public can speak on any item that is not on tonight's agenda. Let me get to my speaks. Looks like we got 4, and the first one is George Truitt and Hal Lepoff. *6 to unmute yourself.
Good evening, commissioners, staff, and the public. I am George Truitt. 2 weeks ago, in speaking before this commission, I asked you to consider your role in ensuring that you adhere to the county's mission statement, which includes being, quote, committed to enhancing the quality of life. Now, I would like to speak on public trust of you. On July 29th, the chair asked council to look into ways to control public participation, with particular reference to items being pulled from the consent agenda. May I suggest that the chair, in his lament, was undermining public trust in this commission. Commissioners are supposed to be the public's eyes and ears, the oversight for certain actions that, as the hearing 2 weeks ago plainly showed, the planning department is recommending without careful study. 4 weeks ago, on July 15th, all consent items were pulled. Could it really be the public's fault that staff has underestimated week after week the time necessary for the commissioners to discuss agenda items that have serious omissions and misrepresentations? The time used for public comment is a drop in the bucket if we look to the meeting time necessary for commissioners themselves to properly discuss these flawed reports, all proving these agenda items are not routine. We've also seen the chair give project consultants unlimited time to put their best spin on their obfuscating conclusions and avoid directly answering commissioners' questions. Given the public's interest in such pertinent items as water usage during this drought, generator usage during fire season, size of grows in a cratering industry, and the well-documented devaluating effects of cannabis grows on neighborhoods and the environment, the planning staff is disserving the commission and the public by creating a consent agenda in order to streamline a meeting and allow problematic projects to slip by. So I would suggest to the chair and the commissioners, rather than lamenting public access, why not make it clear that the commission will no longer tolerate the lack of thorough preparation of staff reports or the spin of paid consultants that results in these overly long meetings? In these ways, please work to shorten these meetings and perhaps regain our public trust. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller, 7454.
Ken Sawatsky, bravo. The last statement, we're dead on. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak today. I'm just letting you know I did not see a single item that would not be pulled tonight. The flaws were mentioned continue to go on. It'd be really nice if you had a template for these projects so that the pertinent information was put in it'd be easy for you, when you look at the description and these things, to have all the information required right in front of you. And it'd be easy for all of us rather than having to delve in these long staff reports. The concept of pulling these all from consent, I don't do that. I only pull ones that I feel are relevant and pertinent and have the flaws or have questions. It's just extremely rare that one isn't pulled, that you folks don't spend a minimum of 30 minutes to an hour on these projects. And so again, I'll ask the question, why aren't you folks pulling those, since you seem to have questions when we get to that point? Definitions is a key thing, and I object to the definition of what public land is meant for regarding the 600-foot setback. It was said it's supposed to be only where you have parks or facilities, and a good share of our public lands don't have that, and yet people hunt on them, they fish on them, they camp on them, and they're habitat preservations. And so your definition for public lands and the reason for that 600-foot setback, I think you should go ahead and address sooner rather than later. Of course, that's not agendized for tonight. Maybe that could be agendized for another meeting. And hopefully we can move through these quickly. I'd love to not spend my whole evening here. But unfortunately, when we have flawed reports and a consistent lack of adhering to what the public perceives as in the best interest. And I did want to make mention last meeting, one of the speakers seemed to be pointing fingers at us for not allowing these to go through on consent. And I'm not going to ask for that person to be sanctioned, admonished, but it is untrue that there are those of us out here just trying to slow it down. We're just trying to get it done right. And we're trying to look after our interest and the interest of the environment. Thank you for my opportunity to speak.
Yeah. Next caller is 7429. Are you there,
Hi,
7429?
hello?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, great. Hi, this is Roby Tenorio, and I, besides what you have before you tonight with the so many projects that are reliant on groundwater wells for irrigation and generators for the electrical power, here in Southern Humboldt, the water trucks are in full force on the road, and that's really bringing home the reality that, in fact, the water sources are drying up, and folks who have not stored enough water are having to purchase it. So I'd really like you to consider tonight the impacts on our roads. These very big, very heavy trucks have an impact on our roads, and our paved and gravel county roads are already very stressed and weary. And I think now that we're following an industry model that requires employee importation on these very rural roads that are already under-maintained, that we really have to consider the impacts. So you put the impacts of just the employees, and then on top of that, the water trucks, and it really creates an additional stress. It might be hard to consider since most of you don't live down here on these rural roads, but please consider the current and the cumulative impacts that our roads from this industry model are having. Thank you.
Thank you. Next caller is Margro Advisors.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Thank you, commissioners. Hi, my name is Kelly Flores with Margaret Advisors. During the last meeting, several commissioners voted no on cannabis projects that were up for approval. So I thought it was important to provide the commission and the public with a little perspective. First, I'd like to remind everyone that you can't ban cannabis. You can only ban legal cannabis. So it's critical that you consider what every no vote really means, because every no vote is a no to the highly regulated system that these farmers have signed up to work in and accepted. I mean, a no vote is really a no to oversight by Fish and Wildlife. It's a no to oversight by the State Water Resources Control Board. It's a no to registering hazardous materials with the Department of Public Health. A no vote is a no to restricting pesticide use by the Department of Pesticide Regulations. A no vote is a no to reducing generator noise and protecting wildlife. It's a no to requiring permitted septics. It's a no to placing meters on all the water sources to measure monthly and report annual usage. It's a no to forbearance on water diversions for 7 months of the year. It's saying no to preventing unpermitted timber clearing, just to name a few. And to be clear, each no vote is a no to thousands and thousands of dollars of tax revenue for the county and the state. When you vote no, you're voting no on environmental and economic progress. Now, I'm not suggesting that these projects be rubber stamped by any means, but the focus of this review should be a final check to see if the conditions applied ensure that all projects move forward in the most responsible way. It's a final check for completeness, not a judgment on viability. That has already been done for you by the planning department. This is a team of people significantly more knowledgeable than the public or the commission about what all the state and local requirements are that exist in this industry. And honestly, voting no is a disservice to Director Ford and his hardworking and dedicated staff. When they recommend a cannabis project, it has been thoroughly vetted over years and hundreds of pages of multi-agency regulations that go far beyond the county's own ordinance. So please, before you vote no on cannabis projects in the future, please understand what you're voting yes to when you do that. Because a no vote is a yes to unregulated farming. It's a yes to zero water management, and it's a yes to the illicit market. So please educate yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you. Public 7108. *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, this is Bonnie Blackberry. I just wanted to say, since your last meeting down here in Southern Humboldt, I don't know where else in the county, but as far as the drought is going, we have gone from severe to extreme. And so just be aware of that. This whole thing that because these people have permits, they are abiding by these permits, these water trucks. I know for a fact, I've seen them go to permitted grows. So that's not supposed to be happening, and it's widespread. All those water trucks Roby's talking about, I don't think they're going out for households. I think they're going to cannabis operations that maybe their wells are going dry or whatever. I know the creeks are going dry. So also, as far as how thorough the planning department is on these permits, I've found numerous errors where they're processing it under the 1.0 ordinance when it should be processed under the 2.0, various different stuff. And tonight, with the what's on the agenda, the project descriptions, 2 of them don't tell you what's the total amount of water these people are planning on using. And I think these project descriptions should have all that information in them, especially how much water they're planning on using. And I guess the county's just going to go along with keep on pumping until they're all dry. It's just really scary of seeing what's going on, and this idea that just because they have a permit that they're following it and the county's doing oversight. What kind of oversight? What's the county doing about all this water being delivered to permitted grows? Okay, that's all for now. Thank you.
Bonnie. Next caller is P. Lai.
Hey, it's Patricia Lai, and I just wanted to share some statistics to put things into perspective. Humboldt County as a whole, entire land area is 2.6 million acres, And according to the county cannabis EIR, the study cited estimated pre-2016, there were at least 15,000 grows in Humboldt County. I've seen some studies that estimated as high as 30,000 grows. Trying to estimate the amount of acreage, those 15 to 30,000, illicit grows prior to 2016, come up with a ballpark, 4,000 occupying 4,000 to 8,000 acres of land prior to 2016. So here we are in 2021, and to date, the county has fully permitted 982 projects of the outdoor and mixed light cultivation that constitutes only 278 acres. Once we're all done with 1.0, which we hope to be in December because of some state dynamics that are occurring, it looks like Humboldt County will come out with about 1,200 permits and 400 acres of pre-existing cultivation that will be permitted. So this is a 5 to 10% reduction over the entire illicit industry. It's a 90% reduction in operators and a 97, the current legal legacy cannabis industry that is operating, for which today all the folks, eight folks on the agenda are seeking licensure, are all pre-existing and a part of a group that will only represent about 5%, 5 to 10% of what was going on here prior to 2016. To put this into perspective, Cal Cannabis has like 8,400 licenses and more than 2,000 acres in play. So I just encourage this, let's put this into perspective. And in terms of groundwater, unfortunately, all of these permits are conditioned very well by the regulatory agencies, but the entire county is not compliant with the state Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. So this is not the place to scapegoat cannabis exclusively. There are over 35,000 groundwater monitoring wells in the entire state of California, and there are only less than 30 in Humboldt County. And all those monitoring wells, groundwater monitoring wells, are located in Arcata Bottoms and the Ferndale Valley. So if you want to regulate groundwater, we need data, we need monitoring, and we just don't have it. And it's not specific to this industry. It's a county-wide policy issue. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else who would like to speak in public comment? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment. And this is something that I don't very often do, but I am going to comment back to the first commenter. You won't hear this very often. I believe in public comment. I felt that that person took what happened at that last meeting out of context, took the things he wanted, said it the way he wanted it. The point I was trying to make at the last meeting was that to keep the meetings flowing good, we need to not to cut out public comment, but not allow people to do what they did that meeting, and that was to take and pull everything off consent and then not even have the decency to be at the meeting when those items came up. That's disrespectful to everybody. That's disrespectful to the public. That's disrespectful to all the commissioners here and all the staff. So that was the point that was trying to be put across, not that I was trying to keep public comment from being allowed. I would never do that. I've been on the other side and have never felt that there was enough time to speak. But things have to be done, and that's what's been agreed on for time, so that's the way it is. The other item was giving the applicants more time. When you put the time, the effort, and the money that is going into these projects into something, you'll get some extra time too. That's been the policy of the commission since before I was here, all the time I've been here. And that's the way we did it. If you think that that's not okay, then maybe you should ask to have something changed. But that's how we've always did it. And that's the way it's going to keep going as long as I'm the chair and nothing has been changed. So with that, I will move on to the next item. And that is item number E, and that's continued public hearings. And the projects listed below are public hearing items and have generated public comment prior to the hearing date or have other issues related to them that may require discussion. And the first one is Canatopia, and it's in the Alder Point area. Have a staff report, please.
Thank you. I'll get this fired up real quick. I believe my screen should be visible.
It is.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Cameron Perchio, and I'm presenting the Canatopia conditional use permits. The project was last heard by the Planning Commission on July 29th, 2021. The Planning Commission requested the project be continued to provide additional information regarding shared resources between the two projects, specifically the proposed off-stream pond. The projects are conditional use permits for two existing 20,000 square foot cannabis cultivations, each of which consists of 10,000 square feet of full sun outdoor and 10,000 square feet of outdoor cultivated within 8 greenhouses utilizing light deprivation techniques. The applicant is requesting a total of 6,200 square feet of propagation area on the two parcels, 3,000 square feet and 3,200 square feet respectively. Conditions of approval for both projects state that propagation area is limited to 10% or 2,000 square foot each for both sites and require an operations and site plans to be revised accordingly. Drying, harvest, and storage will occur on site. Processing will occur on or off site depending on volume of material. There will be up to 4 people on site during peak operations. Power is currently sourced from 2 generators with a plan to connect to grid power within 18 months of the first harvest when it becomes financially feasible. For both projects, irrigation water is sourced from 3 groundwater wells, 2 of which are currently existing, 1 on each parcel, and 1 that is proposed on APN 014, and a proposed 200,000 gallon rainwater catchment pond to be located on APN 014. Existing available water storage between the 2 properties is 82,900 gallons in a series of hard-sided tanks, with an additional 250,000 gallons of water storage proposed between the properties in hard-sided tanks and the proposed rainwater catchment pond, for a total of 332,900 gallons of available water storage. The estimated annual water usage is approximately 399,880 gallons combined for both projects. There's sufficient water storage to cover the water needs from July through October each year for the 2 sites. Access to the site is via Stewart Ranch Road, a private road, via Alder Point Road. A road evaluation report for the 0.4 mile segment of Stewart Ranch Road was prepared by the applicant, which indicates that the roadway can accommodate the traffic generated for the project. Conditions include requiring within 1 year of the effective date, the applicant shall take steps to form a road maintenance association for the maintenance of the privately maintained portions of the access roads on the project site. This slide shows an aerial image of the 2 cultivation areas on the subject parcels. Planning staff recommends the Planning Commission find that the Commission has considered the addendum to the mitigated negative declaration, make all the required findings for the conditional use permit, and based on the evidence in the staff report, approve the Canatopia project subject to the recommended conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the Commission or staff while we have them? Okay, go ahead, Mike. There we go.
Okay.
It wasn't letting me go to.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question for staff regarding the shared water resource, and if the parcel that has the water on it, if it is sold to somebody outside, somebody different than this permittee, what is any recommendations on this remaining parcel that does not have the water, what happens to it?
So one of the things that needs to be understood here is the two parcels are proposed using the water as included within the project description. If that changes, the nature of the project has changed and they would need to modify the project to obtain different water sources. We could add a condition indicating that the water sources are, as they're proposed, serve both parcels. If either project were to be independently sold, that the water sources would need to be modified.
Okay, so that's not part of the regular staff recommendation. I thought that was part of the main question at the last meeting. One of the big kind of requirements or talk about why it was then shelved for this next meeting to have staff come back.
I thought that was for a different project. Maybe I'm confused, Commissioner Newman, but I do recall that discussion at the last meeting. I don't recall that it was on this project. I could be wrong.
My understanding, okay, my understanding was it was for both of the ones that had the separate water on an adjoining parcel. They were similar there, so.
That is exactly true. Thank you.
Yeah, through the chair, just to clarify or to add to that, I do believe there was discussion about that, and then the commission chose to continue it so that we can bring it back and fully describe the two of them together, given the shared resources that I think had not been completely described together at the presentation. And so the other project that got continued, which was continued to a different date, did get continued both for this same reason with the shared water and then also the shared nursery.
Thomas, I see you have your hand up.
So I heard a couple of things and I wanted some clarifications from staff. I heard a statement made that this project would have sufficient water storage for the months of July through the end of the season. I'm just curious if that is something that's out there to alleviate some concerns from the community about as far as water use and water storage. And secondly, I'm thankful, unless I'm reading this wrong, I do not see a condition of approval to for the applicant to discontinue generator use, as this is a 1.0 application. And I have a piggyback on that if I'm misreading that.
Staff like to address that one?
So did we put a condition on this to discontinue the generator? This is outdoor cultivation.
Yes, it is outdoor cultivation. The applicant proposed to use generators until they moved to PG&E. They clarified the specifically 18 months after the first harvest today. So there would be continued generator use for a small amount of time until they can transition to PG&E.
So is that in the conditions?
That is not specifically in the conditions.
Is that addressed in the operations plan?
Yes, the operations plan contains language regarding the transition to PG&E.
So it is part of the project description that they are going to convert to PG&E.
Yes.
And that is just for the ancillary facilities because the primary cultivation is outdoor.
Yes.
And then what about the water?
Regarding the water, was just a statement to show how much water storage was available on site that could cover how much of the season.
So the water storage does not cover the entire cultivation, but it covers from July to the end of the season.
Yeah, so a majority of it. An additional, to cover the entire season for both projects, an additional 67,100 gallons would be needed. But it is also, yeah, the off-stream pond in the well. So although there's no forbearance required, I wanted to kind of demonstrate what that would look like, you know, when the storage might be used.
Thomas, do you have your hand back up, or is that?
Yes, that's me having my hand back up. I would
go ahead.
As far as the water use, I appreciated that because yes, this was an existing project that technically isn't requiring forbearance. But the generator thing, I went through my notes, and this is a hard one for me. And I'm concerned about the county as well, putting these, when we put conditions of for people to come off a generator use under 1.0, whereas roughly 5 meetings ago, we approved, maybe, I don't know, this whole season's wild, but we approved an ML2 project on an 80 kW with no generator restrictions. So it'd be nice at some point in time to have, you know, parity and equality. So those are my comments.
All right. Anybody else have questions before we open this up for public comment? I have seeing no other hands up. I have a thought on the first question that was asked about if the property was sold, and the water issue. Why don't we just require an easement that goes from one parcel to the other? That way, that would be guaranteed. I mean, that happens all the time on parcels that share a well, share services. So it seems like that would be the simple way to solve that question. And if the property is sold, that easement would go with the property that's sold. Just thought. All right. So we can come back to that after we get some public comments. So seeing nobody else, thank you, staff, and we will open this up for public comment. And here's our friend Ken. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me, Alan?
Can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I did wish to make the comments you made regarding the procedure that's been followed in the past is true, obviously, as far as the participation and allowing extra time. It would be nice to have a criteria set up for that, let's say 3 times the average amount or something, just for parity. Now back to this project. I did want to point out, and if anybody up there has a clue how CEQA works, any clue at all, maybe I'm totally wrong, but you have done no CEQA analyzation or any way, shape, or form, as far as I can tell, regarding this ancillary propagation. And that's apparently the only place the generator is being used. And so I don't care if it's 1.0, 2.0, or from Kalamazoo, it really doesn't matter. These without having that gone through CEQA, that's pulling 10% out of somewhere, which again, there's no basis for that. I don't think it's permissible. And you might wish to ask your county council, and we don't know who's representing, so that'd be a question the public would like to know, who is the attorney present representing the county at this meeting. But these questions are extremely relevant insofar as a public perception is that a good share of these generators are used out there for the ancillary purpose. And of course, we contend that that's not having gone through the correct process to analyze this individually or cumulatively. It is an illegal use and should not be permitted as a basis for any kind of generators on these grows. There's other, of course, concerns here regarding the water. And I don't know what the state regulations are. They're different for water, I think, regarding cannabis. I could be wrong on that one. But as far as the easements go, yes, it's quite common to have easements. The other thing that I'm curious about, are these people making these ponds available to CAL FIRE? And is there any kind of amount of water that's going to be retained in these ponds? Should it be necessary to put out fires? I think that would be something that should be offered by these people. And I think that actually is in one of the next ones here. It does have No, I think maybe it's in this one. Gallons for water storage proposed for fire protection and irrigation. So what percentage of that is to stay in that for fire protection? Is it 1 gallon or is it half the pond? And so that's a concern of all of us out there who are neighbors to that. I'm sure they're concerned whether that water is available. So was that in your staff report as far as a ratio of water that's for proposed fire protection and irrigation in these? So that may inhibit this thing because that's a significant portion of your water storage, 200,000 gallon catchment pond. Thank you for my opportunity to comment on this particular project.
Thank you, Ken. Next caller is Bonnie, 7108.
Thank you. I had a couple questions about this. 3 wells, I went through those staff reports and I found stuff where that there weren't well completion reports. Maybe there was one, but there's 2 wells, and the 3rd one sounds like they're going to go ahead and drill the well and give you a well completion report, and then you'll say yes or no. The project description. This is one of them that doesn't include water use, and it says for storage it's 10,000 gallons. So I'm wondering, what it really is, and 3 wells to take out all this thing about what was existing and what's being done now. Prior, the average grow was maybe 3,000 square feet, and people were trying to stay under the 99 because it was illegal. So now we've got these where the average is more like 20,000 square feet, and they're doing multiple crops. So as far as the impact and how much water, my big concern is going to keep pumping out of those wells, and are you going to do harm that you're not going to be able to fix? And because of all these water trucks, that's a big concern. So how much storage do they really have? And do they really have all the paperwork on the wells? Because I didn't find it. Let me see, looking at my notes. And what is it, 2016, the Department of something or other on page 99 that they had 10,000 square feet. That's what they put on. No, they said 12,000 outdoor to harvest. So back in 2016, that's what they said they were doing. Now they're saying they were doing 20,000. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Next caller is public 9831.
Hello, this is Holly. I'm calling from Bryceland, and I wanted to just encourage staff to, if you can, talk about what CEQA review process does, and that this is a part of the CEQA review process. An entire project is reviewed, not only the flowering canopy, but the entire project. And I've learned that through multiple different efforts, but I'm far from a land engineer or expert in environmental consulting specifically, but the EIR is available publicly. And when we're commenting on things, I think it's helpful to put into comments, and to put the CEQA review is being done. And I just hope that people I haven't read this project, but I keep hearing that comment and hope that could be addressed in a general sense at some point. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next caller is Eli.
Hey, Patricia Lai here. I'm the agent on the project. I just want to reiterate regarding CEQA. My understanding is, typically, well, beyond my understanding, I wanted to address the ancillary propagation. Again, we're on a pre-existing. To remind folks, both projects are at 20,000 square feet apiece. We have in the project file aerial analysis from the county of 2014, satellite imagery citing 34,000 square feet on one parcel and 27,000 square feet on the other parcel. Again, pre-2016, we're well below both thresholds and therefore below a lot of any of this other scrutiny. Again, with the 8 agencies regulating on top, this is way below what was done on the largest year prior to legalization. And again, on the groundwater wells, I want to do the data, Bonnie. Let's do this. Like, we need to have this information around so we can make rational judgments about these things and have good, productive conversations based on evidence and ground truth. So I welcome you all to the table for further discussion about this or other larger environmental things affecting our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to comment on this from the public? Seeing none, we will close the public comment and I will bring it back to the commission. And put a hand up. Oh, there it is. Thomas Mulder.
So this question is for staff. If the agent's comment was correct about the original CAV, does that, with approving this project, does that in turn give the applicant, like the applicant's giving up rights to that other pre-existing cultivation area? Is that correct? If the agent was correct, is that other question correct or incorrect?
So I'll answer that. Basically, what the applicant has just stated is that there was approximately 61,000 square feet of cultivation in 2014 for the subject site. They're proposing 20,000 square feet on each site, which is approximately 20,000 square feet plus 10% nursery, which would be 24,000 square feet total. So the baseline on the site that any CEQA analysis would be analyzed against would be 61,000 square feet. This application is well below that. They will not be allowed to expand beyond what they're asking for now. This is a 1.0 application for pre-existing. If they can apply under 2.0 with a new permit to expand, they could do that, but that would be evaluated separately.
Thank you, Director.
Can I piggyback on that, Chair Bongio?
Yes, you may.
So what I just heard, if this project is approved as is, it's technically, we're mitigating a lot of environmental concerns, and it would be hard to attack this project in any basis as it's a smaller project than was pre-existing. So technically, with that said, I'm going to make a motion to find that the commission has considered the addendum to the adopted mitigative negative declaration for commercial medical land use ordinance as described by section 15164 of state CEQA guidelines, make all the required findings for approval of the conditional use permit, and adopt a resolution approving the Canatopia projects as recommended by staff, subject to the recommended conditions of approval.
Thank you, Thomas.
I'll second that.
Melanie, thank you. And right when Thomas started his motion, Mike Newman's hand went up. So is there some discussion you'd like to have, Mike?
Yes, thank you, Chair. One of the parts that I'm concerned with is about the easement, possible easement, or if the parcel that has the water is sold to somebody else, and is separated then from this other parcel that uses the water over there, we need to have something in the motion requiring, at the very least, a planning review about that remaining parcel that does not have the water on it. Is that at all possible?
Would the maker of the motion and the second be willing to add that stipulation to their motion and second to require the applicant to get an easement across one parcel to the other?
What if it was just a condition if at any point in time these projects are not operated by the same company, project modification will have to come forward, and at that time would that cover it? I'm just trying to alleviate financial burden because I remember this project hasn't been operating for a couple years.
The director's computer just went down, so he can't access us. So we're in kind of limbo land right now. They're working on it.
Through the chair, if I could maybe kind of step in.
Yeah, go ahead, Cliff.
Thanks, Chair Bongio. I think one of the things that we would recommend that you do is to add a condition that they record a contingent easement, which is really not an easement because you can't record an easement to yourself, but it would be something that would take place and require them to record an easement if they do sell the property to somebody else. And so that is actually something that we have conditioned that other project that we were talking about 2 weeks ago to have done. And I think that would be appropriate here. We would allow, because this is an existing or pre-existing operation, we would allow them 2 years to meet most of these conditions of approval. So that would give them some time to work on drafting that language and should not hold them up from starting their operation.
This Alan Bongio, I believe that you're incorrect that you can't have an easement with yourself. I mean, the easements are across the properties, Cliff. I have pieces of property that have easements for water. I have one where I have a well on one and it has an easement that goes across to the third parcel. So it have an easement across the middle parcel to go to the third parcel. So I know you can have an easement across it. It would seem to me that the cleanest way to do this would be to ask that they get an easement. I don't have a problem with putting a time frame, like you said, 2 years. That would seem to make sense. But it would be the cleanest. It would be the cleanest in the long run if they ever. The reality is we're making things simpler for them if they ever decide they're trying to sell it, because it'd be something they'd be trying to do at the time of the sale, which would probably not be as easy as it would be to do now. And get it out of the way. We do have legal counsel with us. Natalie could chime in if she has anything that she thinks on this one, but I think that it's pretty cut and dry.
I agree with Chair Bongio. You can have easements as long as you have 2 separate parcels.
The easements go with the parcel, not with the person.
Yes.
So.
Sure. Yeah, my understanding was you could not grant an easement to yourself, but you could still have easements with the property. But
that might be a true statement. I'm not sure.
Either way,
we only care that it's on the property. So
I think that we could easily implement a condition that would meet that intent.
It probably would be a good idea for us to ask the applicant if they're willing to do that. But I think it's a pretty small thing to ask. So if the applicant would like to comment on that, I'd certainly welcome them back to the conversation. Go ahead. Go ahead if you can. Ms. Lai, are you there? Go ahead, your hand's up. Oh, that's you.
Hello?
We're working on it.
Go ahead. Hello. Granting an easement to do that would be fine as a condition.
Thank you. I figured that it would be, but I just figured it's better to ask than to just throw it out there on you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so
and
with the maker of the, yes, go ahead.
Would we need then to add part of that as a review on the parcel that does not have the water? Because that easement is just an easement to the existing water. There's a pond and there's what is it? 10,000. I'm trying to look here at it. The rigid tanks there and the pond. How do we know that, that the rigid tanks would be filled up regularly by that landowner if it's separated out there? I think it would be subject to a review by the planning department again for the one that does not have the water.
Chair Bongio, if I could just comment on that. It seems to me that, we're trying to discourage the use of wells and focus more on water catchment. And so I'm not really sure we actually want to do this, given that we are trying to have the applicants focus on the water catchment. If the applicant did sell part of the land, then it would be on the new owner to then provide water catchment. I mean, I would be happy adding something that would say that they would be allowed to have a certain level of water catchment, but I'm not really sure that we even want to add something that allows them access to a well. It's just a comment thought.
Okay, thank you. Pardon me? The director's saying the easement would be to the pond. I see it differently. I see it that the easement would be to whatever water source we're approving for each parcel. So if the parcel has it's saying it's going to get water from the pond and from the catchment containers, tanks, then that's whatever the quantity is, I forget what the number was, should be what the easement allows them to take.
So could I offer to address maybe several of the concerns? One, the easement to provide the water conveyance in whatever manner is necessary to continue the operation of the cultivation sites, and that there be metering and monitoring of all tanks, wells, and use of the pond that is reported to the planning and building department during the annual inspection for the use of all water on the site.
That would work for me. Does that work for you, Melanie?
Yes, that sounds good to me.
Okay,
that works.
You had your hand up.
That works for me, and I'd be willing to amend them. I don't know if Melanie amended her second or whichever way you want to go about it, but I'm fine with that. My only thing I put my hand up is just an easement for X amount of gallons that the other project needed, is regardless of water source. But I'm fine with what the director said.
Okay.
I'll second again.
All right. So, director, you'll come up with the language.
Yes.
For that, but there will be.
We want an easement on the property to allow the conveyance of water between the water sources to continue the cultivation, and we want all water usage monitored and metered and reported on.
All right, that works for me.
Is there any part in there about a re-look at the one that does not have the water? Should it change hands?
The easement is intended to ensure that there is the ability to have that water available from those sources, regardless of ownership of the two parcels. And we'll make sure to write that easement in that manner.
Okay. And that just brings one other thing to mind. I know that we've been having back-to-back meetings and such and all of that. I would like to see our minutes a little bit sooner rather than later so that we can look back and remember easier what we've gone through on things. I haven't seen minutes for a while now, so that's just one other thing there. So I know that staff is under a lot of things there, but I think it's the timeliness of the minutes of previous meetings that we need to have out there in the public as well, so that the commissioners as well as the public can remember what was gone through and what was discussed. So thank you.
I was going to ask for that later tonight, Mike, so it's going to be at the end of the night. Thanks for bringing it up.
All right.
Any other discussion on this? We got a motion in a second. See no more hands up. So I would ask Laura for a roll call vote, please.
Alan Bondio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Melanie McCaver,
Yes.
Thank you, Laura. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Input. On item number 2, Daisy Farm LLC in the Densmore area. The staff report on this one. Here we go. There it is.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Max Hilken. I believe you are seeing my screen okay?
Yes.
Great. I will be presenting the Daisy Farm LLC conditional use permit at this August 12th, 2021 hearing. The proposed project is a conditional use permit for 17,492 square feet of light deprivation outdoor cultivation grown in 10 greenhouses. The project does include a special permit for a reduction in the 600-foot setback requirement from public lands. There's also a special permit for development within the streamside management area. The proposed project will have drying and harvest storage on site, whereas processing will be performed off site. Power is sourced from a 9-kilowatt solar array with 2 backup generators. The applicant is proposing to install an additional 9-kilowatt solar array to further reduce the usage of the generators. The project has 75,200 gallons of water storage. An estimated 159,745 gallons of water are used annually. And water for this project is sourced from a rainwater catchment and 2 wells located on site. The subject parcel is accessed off of Cobb Road via Highway 36 and Rattlesnake Bridge Road. The engineered road evaluation provided as attachment 3 concludes that the roadway can be considered a category 4 equivalent roadway with some improvements. And this slide here is showing an aerial image of 2 cultivation areas on the subject parcel that are being discussed. Northern area, cultivation area 1 with 6,912 square feet, and cultivation area 2, 10,580 square feet, 4 and 6 greenhouses respectively in each area. And that concludes my presentation for you this evening. If you have any questions, I'll be here to answer them, and I believe the agent is as well.
All right. Any questions for Max? Okay. From the commission. All right. Seeing none, I will open this up for public comment on this item. It looks like we have 17454. Go ahead, Kent.
Thank you for my opportunity on this particular one. We have storage, it appears, of 75,200 and usage of 360,000. That's kind of a little bit down on the storage for the two wells, the direction we're going here. Highly recommend possibly that the applicant volunteer to put in a pond, because it appears that side of storage would require that. Awful lot of water usage on this one, it seems to be, but hard to say. You had a road that was mentioned. I couldn't quite hear what you said. Is that a private road? And if so, is that road going to have a road maintenance agreement, or is there already one in place on that one? That alleviates a lot of problems with the neighbors, especially when you have a road possibly with water trucks going over it this time of year. It really distresses me to hear, and I've heard that multiple times. Let's see. I strongly applaud the fact that they're willing to get rid of their generators. I can't see any really much use for this generator other than, again, ancillary. And again, maybe sometime that will be answered by somebody, where the full CEQA has been done on the ancillary. And if it hasn't been done, then all these permits, very interesting administrative record. I do wish to point just a question here. We have this 600 foot again from public lands. And of course, I made a comment in general on that earlier. And then we have within the stream side management, SMA, you have some kind of development. Is that just remediation? I know I applaud when that's done to remediate things, but why would anybody have any kind of development within that particular area? That doesn't make sense to me. And that's why you're here doing these conditional permits, to maybe say, hey, you got to find some other place to have that, if that is something in the streamside management area. And those are my general comments on this particular one. Of course, we have drying and bucking on site. And again, that's another ancillary use that we really don't know for sure whether it was analyzed or just strictly the actual permitted and taxed growing area. So they have an opportunity to speak on this one. And as I've said before, a lot of people are taking time to actually analyze these things as best they can. They're not just people throwing monkey wrenches at these. So thank you for your opportunity. Last one took you 45 minutes. If it hadn't been pulled from consent, it would have been approximately a 10-second kind of an oversight. Thank you for my opportunity.
Thank you. Next caller is 7108.
Hi, this is Bonnie again. There's two wells on this property. I'm wondering how staff determined that they're not hydrologically connected. I want to say for the one you just passed, there's no well completion report. I don't know what you're using to determine stuff, and maybe it doesn't matter. They want the wells, they get the wells. So that's a big thing, is the wells. And as I said previously, we went from severe drought to extreme, and the 360,000 gallons of water is an awful lot. So thanks.
Is that it, Bonnie?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment, bring this back to the commission. And if Max, if you could share give back your screen, or did you already? I guess you did. Thank you. All right. Any thoughts on this one, commissioners? Absolutely. Go ahead, Director.
There were some questions raised about some of the things relative to like the well completion report, and that is analyzed and discussed in the staff report. The purpose of the streamside management, the special permit for the encroachment into the streamside management area, is explained in the staff report relative to the need for replacement of culverts, and the LSAA is being issued by CDFW. As we, I think, have discussed before relative to CEQA, we do identify everything that's being permitted in the addendum to the original environmental document that was done for whether it's a 1.0 or a 2.0. So I just wanted to say that a lot of the questions that are being raised are not in the project description, but they are evaluated in the staff report.
That is correct. Thank you. What's the feeling of the commission on this one? Not seeing any hands go up, guys. Go ahead, Mike.
So I'd like to move to find that the commission has considered the addendum to the adopted mitigated negative declaration for the commercial medical land use ordinance as described by section 15164 of the state CEQA guidelines, make all the required findings for approval of the conditional use permit and special permits, and adopt the resolution approving the Daisy Farm LLC project as recommended by staff, subject to recommended conditions.
Thank you, Mike. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Melanie. Any further discussion on it?
So I just have a quick question, Chair Bongio.
Yes.
I was just, and I don't know if it's ex parte, but in my time in Project Trellis, I read about this project and other projects as I come along. That was just a volunteer thing, and it wasn't directly communicating with the applicants. So that isn't anything I need to ex parte. Is that correct or incorrect?
We have county counsel, so she could comment on it. I think you're okay. I don't think that that's anything that anybody else in the public couldn't, get. So I think you're fine.
It was all public information.
It's generally best to disclose everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's, you're doing the right thing.
It's generally, yeah. We're supposed to
right.
disclose everything, but it doesn't mean that you are not qualified to vote.
Yeah, I've just read about this project through Project Trellis before. That's basically in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think you did the right thing, and thank you for letting us know that and the public know that. It's just the right thing to do. Any other discussion on this before I call for the vote? Seeing none. Laura, roll call vote, please.
Alan Bongio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Melanie McCaver,
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Laura. All right. That gets us to item number 3, which is Credo RA LLC in the Bridgeville area. Get the staff report on this one.
Good evening again, commissioners. My name is Max Hilkin. I am presenting the Daisy Farm LLC conditional use permit for this August 12th, 2021 hearing. The proposed conditional use permit is for the continued cultivation of 12,150 square feet as analyzed of light deprivation cannabis utilizing 6 greenhouses. Drying is performed on site and processing is performed off site at a permitted facility. Up to 4 employees may be on site during peak operations. Power is sourced from a 40 kilowatt whisper watt generator. The annual water use is 180,000 gallons. This equates to about 7 gallons per cycle with 2 cycles expected each year. Water storage on site consists of 30,200 gallons. And the water for irrigation is supplied by a permitted groundwater well. The subject parcel is accessed off a gated access road via Little Larrabee Creek Road. The road evaluation report provided as attachment 3 concludes that the roadway can be considered a category 4 equivalent roadway. This slide is showing an aerial image of the 2 cultivation areas and the 6 greenhouse configuration on the subject parcel. I do want to note that although it may be small to view, the total area proposed on this site plan is actually for 10,000 square feet of cultivation. It has recently come to our understanding from the applicant after working with CDFW and making corrections to the site that 10,000 square feet is all that could actually be placed on site with concerns for the environment. As such, the applicant is actually looking to reduce total cultivation requested by this permit by almost 25% down to 10,000 square feet. That concludes my presentation this evening. I give the meeting back to you, Commissioners. Thank you.
Any questions for staff? Thomas, I see you have your hand up.
With this, I would assume, but I'm just going to ask the question, if the project is actually less than what is posted in square footage, we're still in compliance with whatever posting requirements. Is that correct or incorrect?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions for staff? All right, seeing none, I will open this up for public comment. And the first commenter is Leslie Doyle.
Good evening, Commissioners. Leslie Doyle with Elevated Solutions here. I have the applicant with me tonight. Just wanted to let you guys know if you have any questions, we are available for comment.
All right, thank you for that. Since they're on the phone, is there any questions from the commission or the staff? We usually have the applicant come in last, but seeing none, we'll call you up if we need you, but it doesn't look like anybody has any questions. So the next caller would be Ken. Go ahead.
Yes, and this is kind of, again, the problem we seem to be having. Whatever that individual presenting this showed on their slide should be on the permit, and such questions as power is provided by a generator. Appreciate. Now I know without going through whatever this takes. And John Ford and I go through these things before these meetings sometimes. Really appreciate him willing to take the time. But I think he finds even sometimes it's a little difficult to find these things. I'm not going to speak for John. But without a template here saying power is provided by a generator, the minimum that should be on there is what you have on your slides. And again, now I found out that there actually is amount of water use. That isn't on this particular one. There's certain relevant things that should be on these descriptions, and without having a format for those, for consistency, for all of us involved in this, and that may eliminate having these things pulled up, because to be honest with you, with the volume of things you're running through there, we don't get paid. We don't have time to pull up those staff reports. I know Bonnie Blackberry does it consistently more than I do. I sometimes do when I have specific questions when I have time, but we don't. We don't have time. So that's a concern, that we have continuing on these things. I did want to point out, something that I neglected to do on my last comment was when you have staff and a question such as, I believe a person can grant an easement to a person who can grant an easement to a corporation, any rights you have that isn't already controlled by any outside easement. And I'd ask you to get clarification from your capable county council. I'm sure if they don't have an answer for these relevant legal questions, that she can do research on that. I have complete faith in Natalie there. And I would like to see the legal issues being dealt with by legal people and not be given information that is in 100%, 180 degrees out of what is actually the information you need to make your decisions. I just hope that's not an ongoing thing and that you're getting this kind of incorrect information on all these projects in different phases. That's just hope. Thank you for my opportunity to speak on this one.
Thank you. Public 7108, Bonnie.
Hi. On page 92 of the staff report, a document from the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, CEQA referral list. On here, the applicant is existing, says mixed light, 10,000 square feet. And then it goes down and it says that the maximum amount of water it's estimated that water use may be as high as 150,000 gallons per year. So that was in July of 2018. And now you're saying, well, you are going to go back to the 10,000 square feet, but the water use on this, Fish and Wildlife is expecting 150,000 gallons, not 234,000. And yeah, in the operations, I guess that's enough. Yeah, here we are with the wells, and yeah. Okay, so please do look at the Fish and Wildlife report and the 150,000 gallons in question, why now you need 234,000 plus. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Bonnie.
That's all for me.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on public comment on this one? Seeing none, I will close the public comment and bring it back to the commission. Questions for staff or thoughts? Mike, go ahead.
I have a question regarding in the timber conversion about the 2019 report by CDFW. I just wanted to find out from staff where exactly the requirement is in their recommendations in the report here under either attachment 1 or 2. Been trying to comb through that, find that.
And either Max or the director's on it. So
yes. Oh, yes, I do have a response to you. That would be condition number 9, located in attachment 1A9. It states the applicant shall submit an addendum to the May 2018 timber conversion report that is prepared by a registered professional forester that evaluates the expansion of the nursery area from 0.05 acres to 0.10 acres after January 1st, 2016. Conditions of approval require that the impacted area be remediated at a 3-to-1 mitigation term for restocking and or tree thinning. The report shall also include a monitoring and reporting section that requires a minimum of 3 years of monitoring and at a 85% success rate. Once approved, the applicant shall restock the subject parcel as described in the approved addendum. The plan shall be submitted to the planning department for review and approval prior to any restocking taking place.
Yes, thank you. I was certain it was in there. I just couldn't put my finger on it. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else have any questions? Anybody like to make a recommendation on this one? Go ahead, Thomas.
My only question is I just want to clarify because water use is a big concern. There's some things that I think it was Bonnie that brought up that 10,000 square feet, they were estimating 150,000 gallons, and the staff in the executive summary, I was reading something about 180,000 gallons of water use. I would be under the impression it would be less than the 180 because it's less than 12,000 square feet, but can I just get clarification on that?
The expectations would be less than 180,000 gallons that was estimated for this project. At the time of estimation, I believe a conservative estimate was given to allow for a buffer there for extra dry summers that would require additional watering. However, with the reduction in cultivation, you are correct, Thomas, Mr. Mulder, excuse me, that there would be an expected reduction in water use.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted that on the record so that way, that's it. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I just want to remind the commission if there is a desire to make a motion to approve this, that should include a modification to the resolution to modify it from 12,500 square feet of cultivation to 10,000 square feet of cultivation in the project description.
Okay, thank you. All right. Would anybody like to make that motion? Seems like we're at that point.
Certainly, Chair. I make the motion to find the commission has considered the addendum to the adopted mitigated negative declaration of the CCMLUO as described by section 15164 of state CEQA guidelines, make all the required findings for approval of the conditional use permit and adopt the resolution approving Credo RA LLC project recommended by staff subject to the recommendations, including the reduction of the cannabis cultivation to 10,000 square feet from staff report of 12,150.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
All right, any further discussion? Seeing none, Laura, I'd ask for a roll call vote.
Alan Bongio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Melanie McCaver,
Yes.
That motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Laura. So usually we take a break right about now. And so let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back to item number 4. We'll see you in 5 minutes. All right, welcome back, everybody. And the next item up is item number 4, Berryland Farms in the Dinsmore area. And I would take a staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair Bongio. I will share my screen. Oh, can everyone see my screen? Just checking.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, commissioners. My name is Sarah Farola. I am a contract planner to the County of Humboldt. I am with Harrison Associates, and tonight I'm going to be giving the conditional use permit presentation for Berryland Farms number 12259. The project is located in the Dinsmore area. It's zoned unclassified. This is a picture of the parcel. It's in residential agriculture, and the parcel size is 20 acres. The scope of the project is to permit existing outdoor and mixed light cultivation for a total of 20,450 square feet. The outdoor cultivation totals 9,200 square feet, and the mixed light totals 11,250 square feet. Propagation occurs in 2 greenhouses that total 2,000 square feet. The irrigation source is from a permitted well, 8 feet below surface. It produces 15 gallons per minute. It's approximately 145 feet from Thompson Creek. The water use has been updated from the staff report for recent instruction. It is 195,000 gallons per year, which is 9.5 gallons per square feet. And there is 98,450 gallons of existing hard tank storage within 27 tanks on the property. Power to the project is provided by an existing 5 kilowatt battery operated 10 panel solar system, and there's a backup generator. The applicant is upgrading the solar array system to 20 kilowatts. It's in the process of being built, and it's supposed to be done by this August 2021. This is an image of the site plan. The outdoor cultivation is in greenhouses 1 through 4 and 8. Mixed light is in 7 and 9. and the nursery areas are in 10 and 11. There's an image of the well and water tanks right here in the middle. That's that. The conditions of approval for this project are to obtain a septic system for the on-site, to obtain a permit, for the on-site septic system. For water, it's to follow all LSAA conditions and the well water condition, corrective actions within the Water Resources Protection Plan, and then standard conditions for the cultural resources and the access roads. The California Environmental Quality Act. So after analyzing all available documentation for this project, staff has found it is consistent with the impacts identified within the original mitigated negative deck, and the project is resulting in no significant adverse environmental effects. So staff recommends the Planning Commission to adopt a resolution to approve this permit for 20,450 square feet of outdoor and mixed light cannabis cultivation and the associated 2,000 square feet of propagation area, supported to the findings and evidence and subject to the recommended conditions of approval. I'm happy to take any questions.
The director asked if he could ask a question.
Yes, Sarah, this is a well, but would you explain whether or not it's subject to forbearance?
Yes, so the project is on a well, and because it is close to surface water, both in depth and proximity to the nearest stream, it is subject to forbearance through the forbearance period of May 15th to October 31st.
That would, okay. Thank you. Thomas, I see you have your hand up.
So this question is for staff, and I did catch that forbearance part of the well, but I'm confused as I let my springs go for wildlife, so I'm not positive of the cutoff. I thought it was May 1st, not May 15th. So I'm just confused if someone was doing a surface diversion, which that's kind of what I'm hearing as a possibility of this well. And to piggyback on there, is there an LSAA for a surface diversion if this water is deemed hydrologically connected?
So the well has not been specifically deemed hydrologically connected. It's not a surface diversion. The May 15th I got from the 1.0 ordinance, and it's not covered under CDFW because it wasn't specifically deemed hydrologically connected. So that it doesn't need a surface water diversion. And so we were saying it's subject to forbearance because of the shallow depth and the proximity to the surface water. So if that answers your question, or if I can clarify further.
If I could just add on to that, perhaps the thing that we could do to clarify that is, because if it is actually connected to surface water, it will require an LSAA and it will require permitting. And so we should require that that be done within a period of time. Either demonstrate that a permit is obtained or that one is not necessary.
Yes, if I could answer that, I spoke with the applicant's agent who is on and also had a call with the State Water Resources Control Board, and they said that they are interpreting the water code conservatively, so they are not requiring a surface water diversion for this well. And I spoke with them extensively, so that was the news for me.
So can I piggyback on that, Chair Bongio?
Yes, go ahead, Thomas.
So from my experience in getting a state license, you have to file for an LSAA for all of your wells and everything. And then if CDFW deems it not hydrologically connected, then they give you some money back. Maybe it's different, but I'm really, really concerned with water being at 8 feet because, I mean, I know quite a few places you can get water at 8 feet.
Commissioner Mulder, we agree with you. You're absolutely correct. That's why we should require that they demonstrate either possession of an LSAA or the exemption letter.
If that's added in there, then I'm good with that water concern. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff before we go to public comment? All right, seeing none, I will open this up for public comment. And the first caller is 7454.
Alan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. In a prior, is this Berryland Farms? Because the request or comment made by Commissioner Mulder earlier was that if you downsized your project, you don't have any concerns. But was this advertised as being the project that was just put on the screen? Because that's not what's described under this application. I think that project would need to be renoticed and brought forward with the actual project. Just a question. The question I would have for staff is are they currently growing on this site? Because I would be guessing if there was forbearance, as it sounds like would be required on this one, with the 198,000, it says 122,000 on the thing here, and I was going to applaud them on 6 gallons per square foot, and apparently that's gone up to 9 point something per square foot, so that's incorrect. The gallons are incorrect, and I guess my comment would be if all they have stored is 67,500 and they need 90,000, I don't think they have any water left for the remainder of the year if they were adhering to the permit they're seeking here. So it's just a lot of questions regarding that particular one. So we do specifically have a 45 kW diesel powered whisper watt generator. And again, this is obviously a mixed light permit out there, so it's going to be used for that. And it has obviously been provided by that. In other words, this is grandfathered in. They had a 45 kW diesel power whisper watt generator at that time when it was December 31st of 2015. So, but I appreciate the fact that you are admitting that most likely something at 8 or 18 feet or whatever, it's hard to hear sometimes, is potentially hydrologically connected. And then, of course, the clarity on the forbearance there, it sounds like we're getting 2 different dates. And I don't know if that's a difference between state or something, but your staff person mentioned a different date. And again, I appreciate you questioning that. So these are some of the concerns that I would like to bring forward at this time. So since they're increasing their water storage, they're increasing their water storage by more than 30,000. I might have missed that one. I was just trying to follow along and could not see much similarity between this project other than the square feet, and you've gone upsized rather than down. Thank you for my opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Kent. Next caller is Leslie Doyle.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm Leslie Doyle, the agent on this project. I just wanted to clarify a few things with you guys that may have been left out or unclear in the staff report. There is a current LSA on this property, and they are actually working with the Burr Valley Road Association to put in a bridge across Thomas Creek. There is 98,000 gallons of hard storage on site. The project does have 2 state licenses, one for the mixed light, one for the outdoor. And they do practice the forbearance. And the only reason we increase the water usage is because now we have 3 years worth of water metering logs that we can make not an educated guess, but a factual statement on what water usage is. If you guys have any additional questions, I'm here to answer anything as we move along in this hearing.
Thank you, Ms. Doyle. Next caller, 7108 on.
Hi. I don't know why, if they have 98,000 gallons of storage, why it wasn't in the project description. It'd be nice to have what's current instead of, not on paper. I am concerned about the well being hydrologically connected, and the thing with the forbearance this year, they moved it from May up to April because of the drought. And the way things are going, who knows what it will be this next year. So I would hope that you would put in the forbearance period, because that changes according to how much water there is. And I guess it's, I don't know, the Water Control Board or Fish and Wildlife who does that. So that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Any other callers who speak on this project? Seeing none, I will bring this back to the commission.
If I could, Chair.
Go ahead, Rick.
I would just like to say that the in the condition, I think it's 19, it probably would be good to reference the forbearance period defined by the state rather than having an independent forbearance period that's set in stone within a condition, so that there is a requirement to move it up or move it back depending on what the state water board is doing.
Thank you. Thomas, go ahead.
What the director just said is kind of where I was with my concerns. And I just like to note that it does say, in addition, on condition 19, they have till January 1st, 2022 to get a licensed professional engineer or hydrologist to prove that it's not hydrologically connected. But I guess approving this project with these conditions is going to protect the environment, in my personal opinion, than not, because I don't believe that they're held to any forbearance at the moment. Although the agent said they are forbearing, food for thought.
Any other comments or thoughts on this? Anybody like to make a motion then?
You got Melanie.
Melanie, go ahead.
Yes, I was wondering if we wanted to add condition regarding the generator shifting to solar within 2 years, as we have been doing.
You could make that part of your motion.
Okay.
I thought it was too. That was first thought that went through my mind. Go ahead, Melanie, if you'd like to.
Okay, thank you. So I'll motion to approve the conditional use permit for the 20,505 square feet of existing outdoor mixed light cannabis cultivation for the Berryland Farms project. Record number PLN 12259, conditional use permit, and find that considered the addendum to the mitigated negative declaration and make all of the required findings for approval of the conditional use permit with the condition that the applicant shift to a solar generator within 2 years and adopt the resolution approving Berryland Farms project subject to the other recommended conditions.
Chair,
yes,
I'd like to second that with the extra recommendation to subject to the modification on recommendation 19 to conform to the state forbearance times. I'm trying to flip to that recommendation here as the director had recommended. Would you be okay with that, Melanie?
Yes, and that reminds me that the director also asked us to condition that it be under 10,000 square feet, I believe.
I think that was the last.
That was the other one.
project.
That was the other one. Okay. Yes, I'm fine with that.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. And Thomas, your hand came up. So for the discussion.
Yes, in the discussion part, I'm going to have to vote with this so it passes with a majority, but my question and just overall statement about generator use, we approve some projects with restrictions on generators and some projects we don't pass with restrictions, i.e. the 80 kW ML2 project probably 6 meetings ago. So if I was an applicant, I would feel possibly discriminated against. I don't know. Maybe there can be some. I mean, I would petition to the board of supervisors honestly on this condition because I think there's. I don't know. It's not consistent. It's not in the ordinance 1.0. So I'll leave it at that. I'm going to vote with it this project passes for the environmental concern. But I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, I agree with you, Commissioner Mulder. I think we all feel that, we've added this on, and it's not in the ordinance. That's correct. In my opinion, we've been fairly consistent with doing it for mixed light. But yes, I hear your comments.
Melanie, the director wanted to comment.
Sarah, could you explain what they're doing with the solar already?
Yes, so the applicant has a solar permit and a full processing engineered plan that is in the process actively of being installed so that the project gets completely off of generator use. So that will be done before, I'm trying to pull up how I had the condition written. That will be before January 2022, I believe. So it's going to be done before
the condition.
Yes, excuse me, yes.
Is it one of the conditions of approval recommended?
I believe it is, sorry, I'm just going through it. I think because they are already in the process of transferring over, I didn't write it into a condition of approval, but I would be happy to add that just to confirm that it will be fully transferred to solar by January 2022 or whichever date the commission wants it to be.
So Melanie, would you like to amend your motion to that, or do you want to keep it?
Yeah, I just think in fairness to, we've been, like I said, fairly consistent with conditioning that within 2 years. So I feel like we should just leave it at that. And if they do it sooner, then that's great.
Okay.
And the second's good with that? The second's good with that, Mike?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, Laura, the roll call vote.
Alan Pongio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Melanie McCaver,
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Laura. Brings us to item number 5, BLM Holdings LLC in the Barberville area. Put the staff report, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Christopher Alberts, and I'll be presenting the BLM Holdings LLC conditional use permit. The proposed project will authorize 37,894 square feet of outdoor and mixed light cannabis cultivation. Processing such as drying, curing, and trimming will occur on site within a proposed 1,000 square foot processing facility. The applicant anticipates 3 employees will be required for operations. The power source for the project is sourced from PG&E. The water source will be a 3 million gallon on-stream pond. The applicant anticipates 183,600 gallons of water will be required annually for cultivation. Existing water storage on site totals 75,000 gallons. The project is conditioned for the applicant to forbear from the use of the pond during the months of May 15th to October 31st. There's also an additional condition for the applicant to implement an additional 108,600 gallons of additional water storage. The applicant does intend on doing cannabis tourism on site in the future, which would be reviewed and processed under a separate application under the 2.0 ordinance. The project is located in the Bryceland area. The site is accessed Miller Creek Road from Bryceland Thorn Road. This here is a copy of the applicant's site map. All the cannabis cultivation activities is consolidated on the northwest portion of the parcel. The water will be diverted from Pond 2, located on the southeast portion of the parcel. The project has received some public comment in support and against the project, and which should be attached or sent to you guys as a supplemental. That concludes my presentation, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Any questions? Go ahead, Mike.
I just wanted to be certain that the public heard that because it was omitted in the first part of the presentation, that this is existing outdoor and mixed light cannabis cultivation. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions for staff? Okay, seeing none, I will now open this up to public comment. So Kent, you're first, 7454. Go ahead, Kent.
Hey, was the third time to charge that charm, Alan? I hit it 3 times there. So am I talking now? Okay. This is an interesting one. It's a 1.0 on a mitigated negative deck. Oh, first thing I want to do is point out I strongly approve the thing that was basically set precedent. Are you going to go back and change all your other permits then, as far as a policy regarding the forbearance time to be paralleled by the water board does? I highly recommend that you consider some kind of a way of doing that, since we're not supposed to change things, but we're changing this one, and I strongly supported changing for the better. I think I might have discussed that as full as far as transparency. I did have a conversation with one of the commissioners there. That might have been one of the topics. I also want to know, did this mitigated negative deck allow for the creation of a 3 million on-stream pond on every single permit potentially that's been issued? That is a heck of a lot of water that's being pulled out of every little stream if you add up all the things you have and multiply it by 3 million gallons. And again, this is CEQA, and I don't know, does this one have a separate environmental impact report or a mitigated negative depth separately for dealing with this? So that's a question I have for that one. I strongly, I'm glad to see it's powered by PG&E. It's a rather large size grow for 3 employees. And so hopefully, the other thing I have is processes such as drying and curing will occur on site within an existing permitted residence. So is that a permitted residence that's been permitted to be used for drying and curing? Because I was kind of under the impression we weren't going to be converting that. And I don't even think that would be legal to use that particular structure, especially if it was permitted strictly for a residence. So it says the applicant is proposing to construct a new facility in the future. Well, I think they have to do it prior to using that particular thing, possibly. And what is the date? The future could be, 50 years, 100 years from now. So we always like to have definite things, and that doesn't show on this particular report. And so, again, it's if we had the consistency in these reports, and as we saw in the last project, there was no consistency, and I still would say you upsize that project illegally without having that renoticed, and it should have been a 2.1, maybe 2.0. I don't know. So anyway, those are some of my concerns. BLM, Bureau of Land Management Holdings, I don't know, maybe, probably not. Anyway, you may wish to ask some of these questions of your staff that I'm asking. Again, we're establishing the administrative record here.
Thank you, Kim. Next caller is George Truitt. Go ahead, Mr. Truitt.
Okay. Hi, this is Hal Lepoff. And if it pleases the chair, George will speak after me. Commissioners, director, and staff, please take a moment and imagine yourself on your 44 acres of meadow and mixed forest with oaks so old they must have sheltered and fed Native American families. Imagine early one fine spring evening, you go outside to sit and talk with a neighbor who has dropped by, and you can't hear yourself think because of the noise of machinery from across the creek. Imagine you and your partner taking an evening hike on a narrow trail at the top of your property. You're going to see if the calypso orchids are in bloom. But a quarter mile from Miller Creek, you hear not birds, but noise of machinery from an industrial cannabis site next door. Imagine your dream of 30 years destroyed by a corporation that claims its owners' dreams of cannabis farming and tourism are more important than yours. So please, with compassion, evaluate this situation that affects not just our quality of life, but the fragile life of Miller Creek and the quality of life in our neighborhood community. Please think twice before ruining traditionally residential neighborhoods. Please do not pass this permit. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm George Truitt. Good evening, commissioners, staff, and the public. Hal Lepoff and I have lived near Bryceland for 31 years. Our parcel adjoins the currently proposed cannabis project, and we share one border that is Miller Creek, a tributary in the watershed of the Eel River, a fully appropriated stream. Our written comments documented inconsistencies in the original staff report. This meeting's revised staff report addresses some of these, yet regarding previous water board violations on the property, staff wrote me, quote, the applicant was not the owner when the violations occurred, quote. This hides the truth. A current 5% member of BLM Holdings was an owner of the property when the violations occurred. Regarding water in this dangerous drought, current storage in project tanks holds 75,000 gallons. Are we to believe that since the current start of forbearance on April 1st, the 37,000 plus square feet of cultivation, not including propagation areas, can be irrigated before October 31st with about 2 gallons of water per square foot, and in addition, have enough water for 2 residences? Regarding access, Planning Department inspectors visited this project twice and must have ridden there by a magic carpet, avoiding Miller Creek Road because staff accepts the consultant's contention that the single lane dirt and gravel Miller Creek Road, less than 13 feet wide in one stretch, is developed to the equivalent of a road Category 4 standard. 2 lanes and paved to the site. Please make that a condition of this CUP so that it does become a fact. Regarding the CEQA and mitigated negative declaration, please read the comments on page 74 of nearby resident Bill Eastwood. He has worked with CDFW and demonstrates why a full EIR analysis is in order. Another oversight by the department is their lack of interest in pursuing why critical state agencies have not responded with approval of this project, though unresolved violations may provide part of that answer. Further, the rejection of this project by Tim Myers of CAL FIRE on page 62 needs to be addressed by a qualified registered professional forester as CDF recommends. And what about staff's evidence of no established neighborhood or school and that the project will not change the character of the area? Public comments from neighbors, including those about the property of an adjacent school, take issue with this. Approving an operation of this scale, twice its pre-2016 size, as well as approving the concept of cannabis tourists and campers will change our neighborhood forever. There's no estimate by staff about the number of temporary workers and their hours, the traffic, and the inevitable unregulated human and mechanical noise and weeks-long cannabis odors from production. In the future, I would ask that you shore up public trust by asking the department to present you with a verified and verifiable plan rather than using the consent agenda as a rug under which to sweep inconsistencies and inconvenient facts. Thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you. 9831. Caller 9831.
Hello, can you hear me or should I adjust my
Yes,
audio?
go ahead.
This is Holly. I also live in the neighborhood and have worked with the
Speak up.
Let me adjust. I was afraid that was going to happen. Sorry about that.
That's better.
I always have such. This is Holly Carter. I also live in Bryceland neighborhood and have worked up Miller Creek Road many times during the last close to 10 years that I've lived in the neighborhood. I've also worked with the applicant on some aspects of their compliance, although not the permit application itself. I truly believe that scientific review and permit oversight brings benefit to a community. We have seen that in a lot of different ways through different applications. This community might not need that responsibility kind of big brother vibe like some others do. It does ensure that there's a vested interest in continued health of the shared and private resources of the land and water. And it does give that oversight to multiple different agencies, as the last speakers have talked about. Having driven up and down the road many times, I have seen heavy use over the years. And so I don't believe that the use that is proposed by this applicant is out of line with the road itself. And there is a responsibility that then is put on the business for maintenance. So the neighbors can feel some assurance in that. I've seen that in a lot of different neighborhoods around the community as well, working with a lot of applicants all over the community, so applicants and permit holders. I know that they're looking for the long game and can see very far into adjusting ecological needs throughout a given year, and are interested in bringing sustainability as well as an ecological and environmental and economic benefit to our community as a whole. I know that it does feel difficult to experience change. We've seen that a lot throughout the entire community. And when the changes happen, it can feel really challenging. These communities are no stranger to lands being Wailaki lands. They have seen influx of different types of residential use over the years. And I think I just wanted to speak to that there is some intensity in development and infrastructure builds, but that is not something that is ongoing, especially for a primarily outdoor operation. So thank you for the opportunity to speak and to hear this project.
Thank you. Next caller is Dennis Halligan. Go ahead, Dennis.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Perfect. My name is Dennis Halligan. I'm a senior fisheries biologist with Stillwater Sciences, and I worked with the applicant on the LSAA, which just got signed this week, and so I'd like to give you an update on that process. Basically, Stillwater came in and we ended up redoing the road inventory, and we upgraded some of the culverts, actually all the culverts. Well, 3 of the 4 culverts by 6 inches to pass greater than 100-year flood. We also designed outfall armoring for the 2 dams on ponds 1 and 2. And one thing that's pretty unique here is the applicant is agreeing to discharge up to 1.1 million gallons during the dry season from their ponds into Miller Creek. And this is a low flow augmentation process that I think is pretty unique. And basically what would end up happening on June 1st of any given year, the pond volume would be measured, a report would be sent to DFW, and based upon that report, 1/3 of the pond's volume would be released beginning August 1st and ending October 31st, downstream of the dam, both ponds 1 and 2 combined, up to 1.1 million gallons, for low flow augmentation into the tributary, downstream, and into Miller Creek. And this is something that we are trying to do within this watershed, trying to get low flow augmentation projects going. And I think this is a pretty unique and precedent setting opportunity here for the county. One of the issues, once again, is the ongoing requirement, number 6, to forbear between May 15th and October 31st. This augmentation actually is a diversion out of the pond and is something that I guess technically would not be allowed with that condition number 6 in there. So I request that that condition be struck because the LSAA is also not requiring forbearance. So with that, I'm open to any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Dennis in the commission? Mike, I see you have your hand up.
Thank you. I have a question for staff regarding that very last comment. Where is that at in the recommended conditions of approval?
Are you referring to the condition to forbear?
Yes.
The forbearance is written in the executive summary under water resources.
Okay, it's not under attachment 1. It's
and then as well as condition number 14.
14. Okay, that's where it has a forbearance for May 15th through October 31.
As well as ongoing condition number 6 on page 16.
Okay. So my other question, are we done with public comment?
Well, there was none after him, but I just was letting you ask questions since I had him on there.
Yes. I don't have any questions for him.
Okay. I'm going to go back and see if there is any more public. I'm seeing none, so I will close the public comment now and bring it back to the commission.
Okay. So can I continue on questions here then?
Go ahead.
I've got a revised recommended condition of approval from for attachment 1 from the last meeting. And there was a couple of changes that I do not see in the current report that we received. One of them is condition 7. It's basically a word change from relocate to ensure. Is that changed or not?
I need to make the correction for it to state ensure.
So instead of relocate, it is ensure, E-N-S-U-R-E.
Correct. That was my intentions.
Okay. And then on condition 10, do you see it's not been changed there? You had Old Bryceland. It was crossed out on the last meeting, and it was changed to Bryceland Thorn Road.
Yeah, see, I did switch these conditions. I'm not sure how, I think the wrong pages were added to this, to your guys' supplemental this meeting.
The current report.
Yeah, this current report, I believe some changes might have not been reflected in what you guys have. However, I did make those changes.
Those are in there. Okay. I had to go grab my other last week or the prior week's report because I was going, there was some other things that I'm not seeing here that was being brought out. So, all right. So those are changed.
Yeah, and I will ensure they're changed.
Okay. So that with the paving, with a prior comment, that helps satisfy part of that comment by the public. Number 10.
No, I think what that really does, Commissioner Newman, is provides basically an apron. And I think what the public comment was related to is there are some narrow spots in the road that wouldn't be 20 feet wide. And what they were asking for is the full width of the road, or as I understand it, the full width of the road to be 20 feet. The engineering report we have says that the road functions as it is.
How long is the road and how many people are going across it?
Do you know that off the top of your head, Chris?
I am pulling that information up right now. The length of the road is 0.9 miles.
And the condition number 10 is for how long?
The condition number 10.
20 feet by 50 feet.
Correct.
So just at the location to turn off onto it, is that it? The private driveway?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Anybody care to make a motion on this one then? Let's see if I have any more questions. Go ahead, Thomas.
So my question is, I heard community concern about narrowness, but we're just adding a condition of approval just for a 20-foot by 50-foot apron. But what about the 10-foot and 13-foot wide sections? Is there any requirement for an engineer to sign off on that road or something like that? Just sorry if I sound distracted. Someone off in the distance is letting off a bunch of fire rounds, so I'm just paying attention to that. But is there any requirement for, being as it's almost a mile of road, fire safe regulations and all those kind of things?
Somebody from staff?
Yeah, I'm looking for the engineering report. Chris, do you know what the engineering report says?
I believe the engineering report was just redone by Stillwater, if I heard them correctly. The applicant submitted a self-certified road evaluation. However, I have driven on the road twice to do some site inspections to his property. The road itself, I believe, could support the cultivation project the way it is, but if you were to do the cannabis tourism in the future, that will be reviewed under the 2.0 ordinance, which will require more road improvement standards. And then the applicant would be subject to get the road into a state to where it would be able to support additional traffic.
I thought under ordinance that even if they did, it would still, if they do the self-evaluation, the road, they've already done it. So why would we require more for?
So there are different requirements when you have cannabis tourism. It requires a better road or a conditional use permit. And so that will be something that will, because it will generate more traffic, and people who are unfamiliar with road potentially, it will require a different level of engineering review.
Will they get a self-certify that road?
No. One of the things about some of these roads is that this is, just want to remind the commission, this is an existing facility. So it's currently functioning.
My concerns about the road are kind of gone if the increased traffic would be analyzed under a different permit and scrutinized under a different way. So.
Well, what's the pleasure of the commission on this one?
Chair, I'd like to make a motion. I know that we heard a few landowners in tonight, as well as in support of this in reports from our last meeting. I saw just a few negative reports, but mostly positive. So I'd like to make a motion to find the Planning Commission has considered the addendum to the mitigated negative declaration for the commercial medical marijuana land use ordinance as described by section 15164 of the state CEQA guidelines, make all the required findings for approval of the conditional use permit, and adopt the resolution approving the BLM Holdings LLC project as recommended by staff, subject to the updated recommended conditions.
Mike, is there a second motion?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll ask Laura for a roll call vote.
Alan Bongio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Melanie McCaver.
Yes.
Project number 6, Over the Bridge Farm LLC in the Alder Plain area. The staff report on this one.
Hello, commissioners. Can you see the PowerPoint okay?
Yes.
Great. My name is Max Hilken. I'm here presenting Over the Bridge Farm LLC conditional use permit. The proposed project is a conditional use permit for 14,500 square feet of existing cultivation, of which 1,540 square foot is grown using full sun techniques, and the remainder 12,960 square foot uses light deprivation techniques grown in 7 greenhouses. Drying and harvest storage is on site in a 600 square foot structure, while all of the processing is performed off site at a permitted facility. Power for the project is sourced from 2 generators tied to fans and drying equipment.
do it. Now it's back.
Go ahead, Max.
Okay, apologies. Here I have a slide showing the aerial image of the 3 discrete cultivation areas on the subject parcel. Cultivation area 1 with 1,968 square feet, cultivation area 2 with the 3,360 square feet, and cultivation area 3, the 1,540 square feet. That's where the outdoor full sun is going to be located. And the 9,172 square foot and 4 more greenhouses for light depth. And that concludes my presentation for you tonight, commissioners. I'll give the meeting back to you.
Any questions of Max before we open it up for public comment? Seeing none, thank you, Max. We'll open this up for public comment. And first is 7454.
Pretty darn consistent, aren't I?
Yes, you are.
Yes, I am. So again, we have it looks like a relatively high water usage for this one. I always applaud the guys who get by with less. Has this groundwater well been determined to be non-hydrologically connected? It doesn't have stats in here. I suppose it's somewhere down in the deep dark burrows of your staff report, probably on page 132 or something. Annual water usage being 234,900 gallons, with existing water storage of 14,375. I do applaud the thing that it takes such a small drying and bucking in a 600 square foot building where some of these things are taking a great amount of uses. Of course, we've got ancillary uses again, and it's powered by 2 generators. Didn't know whether, even though Mr. Mulder seems to object to every single one, whether you were going to go ahead and convert this small amount of usage for this 600 square foot building, which shouldn't take, in my opinion, 2 generators, but hey, who's to say, into some kind of solar thing. I always applaud you folks when you bring that stuff forward. It's something that I think is pertinent in this. And are you going to follow that tradition? So again, I'll give my usual thing as far as ancillary, and I guess you keep taking advice from your staff regarding that being under CEQA, and that will be ferreted out. I hope it doesn't cost the county a lot of money. I did want to point out one thing on these permits, and I know you don't assess financial viability, but everybody says it's a race to the bottom. We see a lot of these permits which you've wasted your time on, which are not coming to fruition because of the low cannabis price. So I'm sure all the growers out there are painfully aware of that one, and it's kind of hard on the people in Humboldt County when these people will probably be losing their ability. So the biggest thing I wanted to bring related to that was, do we have any kind of bond or anything for removal of these structures and things? I think we've asked that before, and there isn't anything out there. I just hate to see all that plastic and stuff out there where the county's going to have to pay to remediate all these without any source of income or source of money to facilitate that. So that's something I suggested a long time ago, and it's about getting close to that time. You do have other non-permitted or permitted grows out there that need remediation. In fact, there's one I speak to John Ford about on a probably monthly basis up on the top of Berry Summit to the right. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Kent. Any other public that wish 7108? Go ahead.
Hi. I have some questions about the water. The report says that 239,000 plus. I'm looking at, in page 41 of the staff report, a Division of Water Rights initial statement of water diversion and use, cannabis cultivation information from 2016. So in 2016, the water use was 138,000 gallons, not 239. So that's a big increase in water use, and they had them down in this document for 12,000 square feet of cannabis. So I don't know if they weren't telling the truth then, or they've changed it, or what, but that's an inconsistency that I think should be dealt with. And Alder Point, I'm not far from there. It's very hot and very dry. And how many other cannabis grows and wells diverting how much water have you taken out of that mountainside already? Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Bonnie. Any other public that wishes to speak on this issue? All right, seeing none, I'll close the public comment and bring it back to the commission. So where do we want to go? Any questions for staff? Anybody want to make a motion? Come on, guys, help me here. There's only 4 of us tonight. Mike, you were muted if you were trying to speak.
Yeah, I'm trying to unmute right now. Question for staff regarding the report there under water resources and what Bonnie brought up on the report on prior usage there, page 41, 12,000 square feet canopy in 2016, 138,000 gallons used there. And I'm seeing here on water resources on page 4 about estimated 234.9. Can anybody comment on the difference between those two things there? I know that the square footage is 14.5 on the executive summary. So it's another 2,500 than what was in that 2016 report. Any help on that for the difference?
Sure. Through the chair, this is Megan Ryan, Lako Associates. I may be able to offer a little bit of explanation. The initial statement of water diversion and use submitted to the State Water Resources Board is a report of riparian water use if it's subject to the State Water Board requirements. So it is a report, and a lot of people. There could be estimates or it could be monitored, but because it's a report of riparian use, it could change on a yearly basis, depending on how much water you actually used. So that would explain the difference in the total water use than maybe what was happening previously.
Okay.
Any other questions, Mike?
No, that's it for my questions here. I believe I'm just looking back through the report.
Any questions from any of the other commissioners? Oh, Melanie, go ahead. Sorry, Mike.
Yes, I'd like to motion to approve the Over the Bridge Farm LLC record number PLN 13236 conditional use permit in the Alder Point area, and that we have considered the addendum to the mitigated negative declaration, made all of the required findings for approval of the conditional use permit, and adopt the resolution approving project subject to the recommended conditions.
Thank you, Melanie. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Thomas. Any further discussion on the matter? Seeing none, we'll ask Laura for a roll call vote, please.
Alan Bongio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Melanie McCaver,
Yes.
Carried unanimous. Thank you. Brings us to item number 7, Doja Gold LLC in the Willow Creek area. Take a staff report.
All right, good evening, commissioners. Let's see here. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, commissioners. My name, oh, we're on the wrong slide. Here we go. My name is Megan Acevedo, and I'm the planner for Doja Gold LLC. Doja Gold is applying for a conditional use permit and a special permit for their project located in the Willow Creek area. Here is an aerial image of the project location and its proximity to Willow Creek. The project is located southeast from Willow Creek, and the parcel is accessed by Enchanted Springs Lane off of Highway 299. It has been determined that the access road meets functional capacity for the project's needs. Here is the parcel. It's 1 acre, zoned agricultural general, and has a land use designation of residential estates. For a conditional use permit, the applicant is applying for 3,000 square feet of outdoor cultivation with 300 square feet of ancillary propagation space, and the project will be operated solely by the applicant. Water is sourced by the Willow Creek Community Services District, and the anticipated yearly water usage is 40,000 gallons. That's 13.3 gallons per square foot per year. There is one 350-gallon water tank on site, and no additional water storage is required. Power is sourced by PG&E, and no generators will be used, and processing will occur off-site. The applicant has a will-serve letter allowing the anticipated water usage, and power will be sourced from PG&E under the 100% renewable energy plan. Here is, the applicant is also applying for additional conditional use permits. One of those is to allow 3,000 square feet of cultivation on a parcel between 1 and 5 acres. Another conditional use permit is being requested in order to allow open air cultivation within 600 feet of neighboring residences. I've attached an image showing an approximation of 600 feet from the cultivation area. The project is located within 300 feet of 4 neighboring residences, which the applicant has obtained written permission from those neighbors to have cultivation within 300 feet of their residence. An early notice of application was sent in June of 2021, and no responses were received. The applicant is also applying for a special permit to request a setback reduction to 6 Rivers National Forest. Here we have an image showing the closest location for a dry shed, which is approximately 65 feet to the shared parcel line of 6 Rivers National Forest. There are no picnic areas, picnic tables, places of recreational use within 600 feet of the proposed project. The project was also referred to the U.S. Forest Service, and no response was received. And that ends my presentation, and myself and staff are available for questions.
All right. Melanie, I see you have your hand up, so go ahead.
That was actually up from the motion. Yeah.
Sorry. Mike, your hand is also
up. Yes, thanks, Chair. My question is regarding that last part about the easement being instead of 600 feet to 65 feet because of no regular use there of the public. And that's a drying shed, so that means there should be a lot of smell. Is that correct?
Yes, the applicant has not incorporated odor controls in the project. That's why they're applying for a conditional use permit to allow open air cultivation within the Willow Creek community planning area.
and the drying sheds in that area close to the Six Rivers forest. Is there any regular trails or anything close by in that area on the Six Rivers forest?
Not that I could see from a Google Earth view, using Google Earth maps.
And how close is that to see any trails? So it's pretty much just forest, is that correct?
It is pretty much just open forest. I did see 2 campsites that were pretty far away, well outside of the 600 foot.
Can you show that picture again of where that is and how that is in relation?
Sure. Let me open the PowerPoint again, just a minute.
Okay.
So here is the image. This is using our Humboldt Web GIS, which does have some inaccurate parcel lines. So this is more of an approximation. It's not 100% accurate.
So behind that measurement box that's right there, what is all that? What's the dark stuff in there?
So if we go to the previous slide over here, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but there's the residence, which is kind of in all of that shaded area.
Where's your cursor at? Upper left, right, center? Okay.
Try the laser pointer here. Can you see this? My laser pointer
there,
is
now
right
it is,
here.
yeah.
This is where the residence is, with the permitted septic. The septic tank's over here. The site plan orientation is a little wonky. I don't believe it's like north-south, but it gives you a general idea of what the site looks like. Cultivation area is proposed to go here. No tree removal is proposed as part of this project, and this is a small little propagation area proposed.
And at the last meeting, I'm looking at a email from Cliff Johnson dated July 28th about DEH recommending conditional approval subject to following comments about functional on-site wastewater treatment. Is that in the conditions someplace that you need?
It has been, yeah, it has been updated in the current staff report. And actually, I misspoke. The septic tank is not permitted, so that is included as a condition of approval for the project. We did include that condition, and that they're not allowed to use a trailer that has previously been used for on-site wastewater treatment. They're no longer allowed to do that.
So where is it in the recommended conditions of approval?
Let me exit my presentation.
About the septic tank and the...
So I don't know if you have the updated staff report. It should say August 12th.
Yes.
Okay, so that is the correct one. Condition is number 6.
Under A.
Under A. That they shall demonstrate that the existing on-site wastewater treatment system complies with the state regional water quality control board.
And invoices to portable toilet service.
Yeah.
What about the septic tank?
So that is part of the process to permit a septic. So That is what the Department of Environmental Health included as their recommendation on the project. I can include that they need to get the septic permitted, but that is part of the process.
So that is outlined where exactly? About them
Stated in the executive summary. If you go to, I believe, page 3, the second paragraph discusses the project is conditioned to get the existing septic system within the residence permitted with the Department of Environmental Health prior to commencing project activities.
How come that's not part of the requirements? I've heard that a couple of times about executive summary and not being in the recommended conditions of approval.
I'm looking. So I can include that in item number 6 to have the septic permitted with the Department of Environmental Health. Getting the tier 1-0 assessment for the system is part of the process, and that was the Department of Environmental Health's comment on the project. So I just didn't include the language, but I can add that in there.
Yeah, I'd like to see that added in.
Okay.
On the conditions. Just having it in the executive summary kind of leaves it out separate. I'd like to see that in the future for staff. If we can have those things incorporated into the conditions of approval, that would be very helpful for the public as well as the commission, I believe, at least for me.
Yes, that is normally the process. So my apologies.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff before we open this up to the public? Okay, so none. We'll open this up for public comment. 7454.
I got it first time. I must be getting better at this. You know, I strongly support basically these small little projects. I've made that quite clear before. This is the future of cannabis in Humboldt County. I did have a little bit, you know, of course, reduction of from the public lands. My family has extensive property bordering residential areas of this same nature, and you'd be unbelievable, even though it's posted, how many people avail themselves of walking through the woods or finding trails or making trails on this property. I just find it very, very unlikely that an attractive area like that isn't actually being used by the public. So, and you're reducing that by 65 feet. So did I understand, or did you put a condition on here to require them to do odor mitigation in that particular facility that's within 65 feet? Maybe I missed that. If you didn't, that might be one you might be wanting to add just to reduce any potential negative impact there. I did try to get a hold of the Willow Creek Community Services District, but unfortunately they close at 4:30, and I was trying to see if they've already or they anticipate shutting down this particular usage as far as the water. I know that a lot of their these small water districts have a clause in there that should they have to cut back, that these recent permits for this purpose are to be first to go. Just for the applicant, I again support you in your efforts. I support the renewable energy PG&E, but you may wish to consider, as far as the functional environment, maybe that was already discussed last time. I'm not sure if we got into this one, but to have that 40,000 or at least some storage there. Otherwise, you could end up partway through a season and going non-functional. So. Let's see, there's no forbearance here obviously needed, and we have very little ancillary use in the particular project. So those are my comments on this one. Again, I do support the small grower 100%. It's the other ones that are getting rubber stamped rapidly here, and hopefully we'll get to the last one. That's the main project I had concerns with. It has nothing to do with cannabis. So same opportunity to speak on this.
All right, thank you. Any other public that wishes to speak on this item? All right. Oh, wait. Katie, go ahead. Made it just in time.
Hi, I just wanted to speak in support of this project. These are my neighbors, and I think that they are following all the protocols that they need following. And I also support the small farms, and I think it is the future of our county, and we need to do what we can to get these small farms approved. So that's all I've got for that one.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment. Oh, yeah, I did. On public comment? Oh, can you switch them on? Okay, thank you. All right, so it's back to the commission now. Any thoughts on this one? More questions? You want to make a motion? Go ahead, Mike. See your hand up.
Yes, thanks, Chair. So I'll make the recommendation, make the motion to find the commission has considered the addendum to the adopted environmental impact report for the CCLUO as described by section 15164 of the state CEQA guidelines, make all the required findings for approval of the conditional use permit and the special permit, and adopt the resolution approving Doja Gold LLC conditional use permit and special permit as recommended by staff, subject to recommended conditions and the change on the approval A6 as discussed.
All right.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion on it? Seeing none, I ask for a roll call vote. Laura?
Alan Bongio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Melanie McCaver,
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Laura. All right. Number 8. LSK Art LLC conditional use permit in the Showers Pass Pilot Ridge areas. I think they meant to say Showers Mountain. Staff report, please.
Hey, my name is Rodney Andel. I am a substitute presenter tonight as the planner for the project is on a scheduled vacation. So I'm going to attempt to share my screen at this point. Let's see here. Am I up and running?
Yes.
Thank you. This is the LSK Art LLC project in the Pilot Ridge area. It's a conditional use permit for existing cannabis cultivation and a special permit for the ongoing use and maintenance of 2 points of diversion on the property. This is a location of the project. It's in the Pilot Ridge area near the confluence of the Mad River and the Showers Creek. Here. The project consists of 13,686 square feet of existing outdoor light deprivation cannabis cultivation with 1,300 square foot of nursery area and 2 greenhouses proposed. There are 2 historic cultivation areas that have been relocated away from water courses and steep slopes to a more environmentally superior location on the property. These retired areas will be restored and restocked. Irrigation water is sourced from a groundwater well that's approximately 300 feet from the nearest surface water feature and 2 points of diversion. Water storage consists of 15,000 gallons in hard tanks and 100,000 gallons of additional gallons of water storage will be added. Water usage is approximately 125,932 gallons annually, which is about 9.2 gallons per square foot per year. Drying and curing occurs on site, and all other processing will be conducted off-site at a licensed processing facility. The project will use between 3 to 5 employees during operations, and electricity is provided by generator power. Let me get my laser pointer going here. There we are. Here you see a site plan of the proposed property. It is 2 parcels that make up one separate legal parcel. So the water tanks are in this area with the well here. This is an existing area here, existing here. This is to be decommissioned and relocated here. The other area to be decommissioned is not shown on this site plan. It's right around here in the streamside management area. This slide here is actually a map from the WRPP, which does show this area that was not on the site plan that's within the SMA. This is being relocated because it is within the SMA. And this site here is being relocated due to the steepness of this road. The restoration report recommends that this area stay, the graded flat stay, because it's an old log landing, and the road stay for access to that for future timber operations. However, it does recommend that this area be restocked as well as this area. I'm going to do something a little strange here. I'd like to recommend, if you guys decide to approve this project, I'd like to recommend an additional condition. And the reason I'm doing that is in my review this afternoon in preparation for this, I did notice that the 115,000 gallon of tank storage number came from the WRPP recommendation. And that number is not reflected in the site plan accurately or the operations plan. In fact, the number of proposed additional tank storage is less. I'd like to see that there. It's in order to accommodate the forbearance needs. And also I'd like to see site B from the previous slide, that's the retirement site in the SMA. I'd like to see that on the site plan. I do understand that there's a well there that I believe is hydrologically disconnected from surface water due to the distance from surface water, but the well only produces about 2 gallons per minute, which I think is kind of weak. So I'd like to stick with the recommendations of the WRPP to meet the forbearance requirements. With that being said, staff's recommending that you find the project consistent with the MND adopted for the CMMLUO, make all required findings for approval of the conditional use permit and special permit, and adopt the resolution approving the LSK Art LLC conditional use permit and special permit subject to conditions of approval and my extra recommended conditions of approval. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Mike, you have your hand up already, so go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Bongio. Question is the separate APN that has the water versus the rest where the grow area is there conveyance as well as recommendation about, as we had talked about before in the earlier permitting with the 2 different APNs?
Well, the 2 separate APN numbers make up one legal parcel. So it is one parcel.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for making sure that that's out there to the public.
Yes.
Any other questions for Rodney? All right, seeing none, I will open this up for public comment. Go ahead, Ken.
Hey, we might make it to the last one yet. We'll see here. I did wish to point out, is this a typo at the bottom? You have an outdoor cannabis cultivation. I didn't see it. Maybe is there extreme ancillary use here or something that's not in the description of the project? Electricity is sourced from 6 diesel generators. And then, of course, I'm greatly concerned regarding the 2 points of diversion from a Class 2 water course. And my understanding is the new condition will include forbearance, and is that under the same forbearance definition we had earlier in the day? It's whatever the water board determines those dates to be. I hope that would be a condition on all these kind of just go ahead and change that as we go along. Let's not assume that that's happening. Let's see. The other comment I had on this one was, it looks to be better than some of the other ones, but the water diversion is troubling to me, and also the 6 generators. I just can't understand why you would need that. I think I brought that to attention to John Ford, because we go over these things, and I think that was one, John. You can confirm or deny that for your people there. But anyway, those are my basically concerns on this one. The other thing is, I do strongly support the relocation, especially in the Mad River watershed, because that's really important to all of us. And unfortunately, I wish to make note that you folks really need to reach out to the water board. They started doing all kinds of remediation in these areas, and they've totally dropped the ball. I don't know why they've left this high and dry, basically, because my understanding there's an exceptional amount of black market growth specifically in that particular watershed. Don't know about that specific area. And just last comment here is hydrologic connectivity. You can have a small stream of water, and I follow them, and you can follow them for a mile underground. So you cannot assume that those things are not hydrologically connected just because it happens to be 300 feet or 1,000 feet or a quarter of a mile from some other stream. So I think you're going to have to get some education in that. Hopefully you will pretty soon. Hopefully you get some qualified person from out of the area who doesn't already have a potential conflict of interest on these projects. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Any other public that wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment and bring it back to the commission. Director, go ahead.
Rodney, I see in the agenda, it does identify 6 diesel generators, but in the staff report, it does not.
In the staff report, let's look there. Let me get there.
It does look like it's in the executive summary in the first paragraph.
That is correct. First paragraph, page 3.
So then that's a legitimate question. Why are there 6 diesel generators for an outdoor grow?
I do not have an answer for that question, Mr. Ford.
Is the applicant with us by chance to possibly answer that question? I'd welcome them to raise their hand, and I'd let them speak if they are. Well, it doesn't appear that we have an applicant with us, so that's a really good question.
I would like to add that I did speak with the agent today, and they talked to their applicant, and they were aware that generator use is kind of a hot item right now. And they would be willing to phase out some of the generators and add solar at some point.
Yeah, they say any time frame or any amount, or
you know, I spoke to the agent, and I kind of gave him some scenarios that I've seen in the past, and they certainly don't want to phase out all the generators, or maybe I don't know how many, but they did stress that it'd be nice to have a generator there in case they're of a power outage or something for emergency purposes. And that solar isn't cheap, so I was hoping they would be here. I guess that's a better way of saying it.
That sounds good. The director'd like to make a comment.
I apologize to the commission that we don't have clarity on this, and it puts you in an awkward place. I would ask for a continuance to allow us to find out what the plan is. And to bring this back to the meeting, I think the first meeting in September is probably September 2nd.
I'll motion to continue LSK Art LLC conditional use permit until the September 2nd meeting.
Melanie, do you have a second to that?
Yeah, I'll second.
All right, any further discussion?
I would just add, we should add the recommendation, or at least look into it about adding the storage in there that Rodney had recommended.
Yeah. Yeah, let's get it all the details taken care of before it comes back. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Laura, roll call vote, please.
Alan Bongio, Thomas
Yes.
Mulder,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Melanie McCaver,
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Director, for making that call. Item number 9. McKinleyville Murray Road LLC final map subdivision extension in the McKinleyville area. So just staff report.
All right, good evening, Planning Commission. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, I'm Leilani Shine with Land Logistics, contract planner for this item. This is a 2-year extension of a final map subdivision of approximately 197.3 acres that were formerly known as the Norton Creek Estates, now termed the Beaupre Heights subdivision. This will be 79 residential parcels ranging in size from 1.03 acres to 4.79 acres, and an open space parcel encompassing streamside management areas and wetlands. The tentative map will also protect an approximate 36-acre Sitka spruce forest stand deemed a rare natural community by the Department of Fish and Wildlife. Pursuant to section 322.5-1 of the Humboldt County Code, an exemption to the solar access standards was requested for all lots based on the fact that all lots in the proposed development are greater than 1 acre and lot configuration does not constrain solar access. The proposed subdivision would include a small 3.4 acre community park and series of trails open to the general public for pedestrian and bicycle use. The project site is accessed from the south via Murray Road and from the north via Norton Road, both of which are 2-lane roadways as they approach the site. A portion of the project area is located within the designated approach zone, Zone C, for the Arcata Eureka Airport. However, the proposed densities do not exceed those currently allowed, which is 4 units per acre for this zone, and would not adversely impact the airport. The Arcata Eureka Airport is located approximately 1 mile to the northwest of the site. The project includes street name assignments to name the proposed new unnamed access roads that are to serve the proposed subdivision. The project will be served by community water and on-site septic systems. If approved, the extension will extend the life of the map to June 14th, 2023. No change to the original project is proposed, and this is the 3rd extension requested. And that concludes my presentation.
Any questions for staff while we have them here? All right, seeing none, I will open this up for public comment. Anybody wish to speak on this item? Go ahead, Kent.
Well, darn it, I thought you were going to just cut this one off just so I wouldn't have my say on this one. This is an old subdivision, and I was guaranteed pretty well by staff that if I bring a subdivision similar to this to you, it will fly through in a heartbeat under the current general plan, although that is not true. I think this is one of those ones that garnered your ex-planning and builder director, Kirk Gerard, his 6-point-some acre McMansion out there in Bayside, and this is something that happened years ago. I'd ask you to look at this particular project and see you think that it's appropriate. A question I would like you to ask staff is how many extensions are allowed on these things, and is it in compliance with the general plan? Well, the answer is no, it's not. And you may get a little bit of thing. And John Ford and I did the math on it today. I think that the zoning anticipated is 2.5 acres to 5. So we don't know if it's 5 acres or not. It's hard to say. That's a range, and there's a major discussion. So the way it is set up now, it comes to 2.4974683355, which no matter what, it's not going to. And John said, well, we should just let that one slide. Well, as a developer, I think you should meet what could be the anticipated minimum zoning. And if it hits the maximum, then you're going to have half that many lots, basically. So it's one of these old subdivisions, and we run across them all the time. Just because they were approved back there, we have them at, like the Pines up there in Trinity County, and I'm sure Alan can tell you about some of these other dysfunctional subdivisions that eventually they correct and they just go away. There's a reason why this hasn't come to fruition. In my opinion, I guess there's a health policy that if you don't have ability to get to something as far as servicing your sewer within 300 feet, you're not required to do this. Well, that makes no sense to me as far as a developer size this thing. And it may be 3,000 feet, but it really makes no difference to me. This should go into a sewer system. My understanding is at one time, the Community Services District did not have capacity to hook up to this. I asked Cliff today whether he had checked on that to see whether capacity, maybe he has since, maybe they don't have capacity, but that still doesn't mean the project should be continued to roll over continually. It was a bad project when it was started, and it's a bad project today. And the ideas of people have changed quite a bit regarding these taking forestation. You heard what a neat portion of ground that is, having these very fine things to preserve, but I'm guaranteeing you the rest of that's all fine habitat. It's kind of that don't pave Mother Nature and turn it into a parking lot. Well, this is kind of what this one's doing. So I'm just asking you to take a serious look at this one, and maybe you have questions. It's late in the meeting. I probably wouldn't be available if you do table this for some reason, but I think these kind of projects need to have a lot of attention paid to them. Like I say, it wasn't right then, it's not right now. Thank you for my opportunity to speak on the last of the day here.
Okay. Anybody else who would like to speak on this subject? Seeing none, I'll close the public comment and bring it back to the commission. Any thoughts on this one? I have a question for the director. One of the questions that Ken asked also was how many extensions can you get? I don't believe there's a limit on them, but
no, there is a limit. Normally it's up to 5 years. However, due to the economy, at certain times the state has granted some automatic extensions that don't affect the normal 5 years. And so this one is really falling under that. I believe this would be the last available extension.
So this is the last. Okay. Thank you. Any questions or thoughts? Thomas, I see your hand up.
So if I'm hearing everything right and I'm seeing the zoning, it's zoned AG, but I'm looking at the aerial map, forested. I mean, I support it. I mean, maybe I need to get some land I own rezoned or something like that. I don't know. So I'm new at this. I mean, I know we need housing in Humboldt, and if you provide opportunities for higher end housing, then that frees up lower end housing as well. I've heard of the economics of that because people move. So I'm in support of it, but yeah, this is my first one. So that's it.
Any other thoughts? Well, I have a thought on this one. I hope I'm okay with the extension. I mean, I'm sure that it's going to change before it comes to fruition, if it ever does. But with all that's happening in our county, hopefully, and especially with what we keep reading about with Humboldt State, we're going to definitely need to figure out some housing. So hopefully this will don't feel part of that burden. But sure would be nice to have them bring it forward to do the project. So anyhow, that's my 2 cents worth. Melanie, I see you have your hand up.
Oh, I was just ready to make a motion.
Please do.
And I'm enjoying hearing your thoughts. Okay, so I will motion to make all the required findings for approval of the McKinleyville Murray Road LLC final map subdivision extension and adopt the resolution approving the Bow Pre-Heights final map extension subject to the recommended conditions of approval.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? I see Mike's hand is up, so we may have discussion. Mike, go ahead.
I'll second it so we can have discussion.
Okay. Thank you, Thomas.
I just had a question on the zoning map. It does say Trinidad area. Why is that?
I missed that. It should not say Trinidad area. It is in the McKinleyville area.
Yeah, it's on all of the maps there. Okay, that's all.
All right. Any other thoughts, questions, discussion? All right, seeing none. Laura, and ask the question.
Alan Bongio,
Yes.
Thomas Mulder,
Yes.
Mike Newman,
Yes.
Melanie McCaver.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous. Can you believe this, people? We got through 9 items in one meeting. It's a new record. All right. Well, Mike took the one other thing I was going to speak about earlier about getting us the action summaries. So that was a good point.
We will absolutely work on that. In fairness, we are 2 people short right now. And so we're working on getting those filled. And Laura has been putting in rather long days as it is.
Yeah, and we've been doing a lot of special meetings, so I know that really adds a lot to your load. So.
And really, I appreciate that. It just makes it harder for the public and the commissioners in retrospect, looking backwards, as I commented before. We need to make this more of a public service. And if there is something that is different, that it'll be caught easier rather than later and down the road to where there's a problem.
Thank you. Message received and respected. Yep.
Okay, with that, anybody else have any comments or anything, Director, anything you want to speak?
I don't have anything new for tonight.
All right, then this meeting is adjourned.
When's the next meeting?
August 19th.
Next week.
Next week again?
Yep.
We're going the gamut here. Okay. All right. Good to see you all.
See you next week.
Yeah,
All right.
see you next week.
Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good